Pete, we're back. 1986 still.
Is that where we are?
Yeah.
I wondered why there were Hostess pudding pops all around. I thought they got rid of those years ago. Turns out we are in years ago, and they have the pudding pops back. Not pudding pops, they're pudding cakes. You know what I'm talking about, right?
No, I don't know.
You know those little snack pies? Come on, do you ever go anywhere while we're here? There's
No,
so
I
much
don't.
stuff happening. The pudding pies, they're like those little Hostess cake pie things, little handheld pies, and they got fruit filling in there. They're usually gross. Well, back in the days, which is now, they have pudding in them, which is way messier than you'd imagine having pudding inside of a bread would be.
I wouldn't have known that they didn't exist uptime, to be honest with you.
They were so good. I'd always get them in my lunchbox, and they'd be all smushed up from everything else because, you know, there's like juice packs and thermoses and such, smashing them. So then you open the wrapper, and it's just this big mess of pudding and, I guess, bread product. It's great. You'd love it.
I guess so. Why is our fridge filled with those little ices?
A little icy? Why wouldn't they be?
Because they're for children, and they contain barely any liquid, and they're not fulfilling at all.
It has lots of liquid. I don't think any of it's nutritional, but it's liquid, and it's good.
They're like the size of a thimble.
And they smack of sugary sweetness.
Yeah.
You know what else I like? Those little wax bottles that have the little liquid inside. Those are good, too. I got to find those.
Because I didn't know you weren't supposed to eat the wax.
No, you're supposed to.
Oh, then they were delicious. I haven't beaten myself up over nothing for 35 years.
It's good that we came back. This is a healing process for you. I like it.
I know what I'm having for dinner.
Pudding pops and wax?
And wax.
Nice.
And I'm going to wash it down with at least 17 ices.
You know what's better than an icy? Orange Julius. I know I brought it up before. But
Has it come up before?
Oh, it has. I've been drinking those like gangbusters. You can still get them back uptime, but they're not nearly as good. They changed the recipe. They changed the recipe on everything.
I know
they take everything that was good and make it not that way.
It's true. Mm-hmm. Well, if I had my full editing suite and the ability to have these films to cut up the audio from, I would have opened this episode with just a montage of Tom Atkins saying, "Thrill me."
Tom Atkins. Who is he? What did we see?
Night of the Creeps.
That's right. Night of the Creeps. I've never seen that one before. I like that one.
Yeah, I thought you would.
You were right. It was awesome.
It is directed by Fred Decker, who
I don't know
directed
who that is.
Monster Squad.
I like Monster Squad.
I don't know that he ever directed anything else. He probably did, but these are the only two I know of.
That's two bangers from him.
Yeah.
Good for him. Go out on top.
It's got the 80s aesthetic that I love, mostly because it was made in the 80s, but it has a 50s B-movie feel to it that I just enjoy tremendously.
So, Night of the Creeps. It is an alien / zombie / slasher movie.
Yes,
Slasher. Get it? Slasher.
Everything.
I'm pretty clever today.
It has everything.
It does, and it's a lot of fun. Now, it wasn't huge crowds at the theater, was it?
No. This movie bombs.
Oh, does it? That's too bad. This is fun. Does it get like a cult clad? You know words. Cult status.
A little bit. People know it. It's definitely a movie that people revisit from that era, even though people in the era didn't have time for it. So a little bit. It's not like, you'd never seen it.
No, I hadn't.
So think about that for a second. Like, if you haven't seen it, then it's probably not that.
I don't see a lot of horror movies.
I don't think you'd heard of it even. But it's the kind of horror movie that definitely would have been part of your life, because it's not so much a horror movie. It is just like a fun 80s movie with all these different genres mixed together.
Yes. And I got to say, one of the characters, I don't know who his name was, but the guy with the crutches, he had awesome clothes. And I'm really starting to realize that most of my fashion did in fact come from the 1980s, with people in these movies wearing Hawaiian shirts.
Now that I think about it, and I keep saying Fred Decker might not have directed anything else, I think he might have directed RoboCop 3.
I don't remember that one. I might have seen it, but I not.
It's the bad one, so I don't want to credit it with it when he has two awesome movies.
You know, I don't remember part 1 or part 2 of RoboCop.
RoboCop 1 is incredible.
That's what everyone tells me.
It holds up. It hasn't come out yet where we are, but it holds up great to the year before it exists.
It will hold up great.
It really does. It's got a wonderful cast.
Is that a Peter Weller joint?
Yes. Did I ever tell you that I watched a 4-part documentary on the making of RoboCop, and it's maybe the best documentary about the making of a movie I've ever seen? They had
at least the making of RoboCop, anyway.
Everyone you could possibly want.
Well, time out. How long was each part of this miniseries?
About an hour.
So you watched 4 hours of the making of RoboCop.
And here's the thing: I watch it for review on the site.
Ben Grimm.
So yep, here he is.
Early appearance today.
It's clobbering time. He's got to go. He'll be back, though, I bet. That's one thing I'm sure of, is he'll be back.
He is always back.
I had to watch it for review on the site because I was sent screeners for it, and I watched them all in a row. And they came out every week on Screenbox instead of all at once. And that's the right way to do it because they're so dense and full of entertaining side notes and discussions that it's one of the best things I've ever watched. Even if you don't like RoboCop, just for the pure like enjoyment of movie making, you get every scene, every major scene in the movie is talked about, from the effects guys to the writer to the director to the actors that were in the scene, and they give you all this behind the scenes stuff, and they're just raw about it because it's so long ago. So they're like, yeah, Peter Weller was a dick, and Peter Weller shit, and I was like, yeah, I was a dick.
All right.
And it was really, really good.
All right. You say they interviewed everybody.
Everybody that was alive at the time.
Was there a best boy involved? Because if not, I cast aspersion and doubt on the whole legitimacy of this best documentary you've ever seen.
I don't think that there was.
Well, then this is garbage, and watch something better, everybody.
Yeah, it's called RoboDoc, the creation of RoboCop. You should watch it because it's really good.
It's got a pun.
It does.
Pun in the title, and that's pulled me back, and you pulled me right back in, Brian. I got to go watch this when we get home.
Even if you don't like RoboCop, I recommend seeking it out because it is genuinely one of the most entertaining things. But don't watch it all at once like I did for review because it's so packed of stuff.
Oh, don't worry. I won't do that.
I know you won't. I'm sure you'd like it, though. It's a fascinating look at how movies are made and then the retrospective of when they become classics, and it's really great.
I think the last documentary I saw, I tried watching the one about Woodstock 99 or whichever one Fred Durst and Limp Bizkit burned down the place. Mm-hmm. But instead, I think the last one I watched was... Oh, it's gone.
Oh, nice. What was that about? Was that about the middle class?
No, it was the yeah, that's the one I'm working on right now.
We don't often get political on here, but sometimes they're just home runs.
Home run. I got one of those.
I got to finish rounding the bases on my awesome home run there.
Hold on, God damn it! It was a wrestling documentary with David Arquette.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, it
David
was really...
Arquette Can't Die.
Yes, that was the one. I wanted to say David Schwimmer. I'd like to watch that. See what Ross is up to these days.
I don't want to see that.
Me neither. I was lying.
I saw him in a commercial with Jennifer Aniston during the Super Bowl. It's the last time I saw him, and that was 38 years from now.
I've been avoiding the Noid on my commercials. Wow. That's what I'm supposed to do. I've been watching the commercials, Brian.
You got to avoid him. He's a rapist.
No, it's not that. But do you remember? Oh no, maybe we should warn him. There was somebody whose last name was the Noid, like Noid, not the Noid, but Noid, like say, I don't know, Joe Noid.
Yeah, his middle name was the.
Yeah, his middle name was the. But apparently he unfortunately had suffered from schizophrenia and paranoia, so he thought all of these commercials were targeting him. And I don't remember the details, of course, but I do believe, and I have no way to check this because it hasn't happened yet, I think that he takes over like a Domino's takeout place and holds the people hostage. And he ended up in the negotiations, I believe, getting a large pizza out of it, and everyone got away. And I think he went to the hospital.
The people at Domino's own fault because they were warned repeatedly to avoid the Noid?
Yeah, I guess it is. I don't know what they offered in the training videos in these times. I know when I worked for a grocery store, I had to watch like 3 hours of training videos.
Yeah.
And I assume that they did not train people on avoiding the Noid so well.
I had to watch the McDonald's training video.
Was it long?
I don't remember it being long. But I also don't remember working at McDonald's, so I don't know what I was watching.
Mine told us not to steal and to be a good employee with good customer service. And it was a lot of that.
Pete, I have something for you that I haven't had in a long time because I can no longer edit these.
I thought you were going in a way different direction with something you hadn't had in a long time that you had for me.
I have a correction and apology, which we haven't had to do, you might have noticed, in a long time because I started to learn how to edit so I could edit out most of the problems.
Oh, no, I just figured you got smart finally and you knew things for once.
No.
Instead of letting me carry all the hard work here.
In our last episode, The Fly, I incorrectly, I believe, stated that those elf toys are coming from Pizza Hut. And you said it's either Pizza Hut or Burger King. And I've thought about this, and now I'm almost positive it's Burger King. So I'd like to apologize.
It was Burger King? Yeah, I thought it was Burger King.
Almost positive it was Burger King.
It was me who thought it was Burger King.
Yes, and it was
all
me.
Right,
that's why I'm issuing the correction and apology.
All right. Good. Apologize to the people.
I did.
All right,
literally just did a segment on it.
I wasn't listening. Oh. I was trying to remember what you said.
Did you notice in this movie, Night of the Creeps, Our old friend, Dick Miller, was back.
Of course, I recognize Dick Miller. I am becoming... Is he everywhere in the 80s? I don't know how I never noticed this.
From like the 50s through the 90s.
He is great. What was he was in Killbots, right? He was the janitor.
Walter Paisley.
Walter, that was his name?
That's the name he takes for every movie where he doesn't really have a credited role. Pete, do you know who he plays in this movie?
Walter Paisley?
It's just credited as Walter, but he did that sometimes. But whenever there was no real character name for him, they just gave him the name Walter.
He was the armorer.
Yes.
Right. Okay. Well, real quick, in case, because apparently no one's seen it, the plot is an alien spaceship loses some space worms, and they get to Earth, infect people. Then we flash forward to the 1980s from the 1950s.
Well, you're skipping over the most important
Well,
part.
I'll get to I'm going for the quick synopsis here. So then they now we're in 80s times. Nowadays, as we like to call it here in the time travel biz.
It's Rush Week 1986.
And now the worms get into people and turn them into zombies. Yes. And then it's like a slasher slash. I'm going to keep doing that. That's my new thing. Slasher slash.
That's not going to get old, so that's pretty cool. That's your new Ben Grimm?
That's my new bet. Actually,
Yep, he's back.
Back again.
All right.
So, one of the things I liked I spilled my orange Julius all over myself. Don't comment upon me. Anyway, what I really, really liked is that we start off in outer space.
Right.
We're in outer space on a spaceship with aliens who are awesome, by the way.
In the 50s.
Well, we don't know it's the 50s yet.
Well, we don't know yet.
We find out very quickly because then when they launched the little capsule with the worms on it to space, well, one of the aliens was a bad alien, and the other two were stopping them. It gets to Earth, and it's 1950, and it's black and white, even though it was color.
Why isn't it black and white in space?
Because it's 1950. In space, there was color.
But why? Why? If it's set in the same time period, why does it go from color 1950s to black and white 1950s
Brian,
to color 1980s?
This is why we're never going to get home, because I'm leaving this kind of stuff in your hands, and you clearly know nothing about science. Outer space technology is way more advanced than ours was. So in outer space, they had color, because that's where they had spaceships and space worms and color.
Speaking of having color, this movie passes the Minority Report.
Oh, yeah.
Because Tom Atkins' partner is played by a black gentleman.
That's right. Wait, what was we had to do the check. Was there a butt shot? I feel like there was.
I feel like there wasn't.
Really?
And I look hard. And I'm hard when I look. And I didn't see one.
I hear that.
There was, however, for seemingly no reason and completely out of context and for no purpose in the script whatsoever, some boobs in this movie.
I was getting worried because despite taking place a lot of the time in a sorority, there were no boobs.
No, it wasn't like any sorority I've ever seen. There was no pillow fights.
Nope.
There was no orgy.
Nope. You know what there were, though? Which is standard for sororities, is a box of brains down in your basement for somebody's lab report.
Yes, this is why this movie is so good. Because it just has scenes like, I don't want those brains in the basement. They're like, where else am I going to put them? It's like, all right, just keep them out of the way.
Brian, when we're in the 1950s and these two people at Lover's Lane and Makeout Point, they see the comet and the guy's like, let's go follow it. And they go to they're sitting there and he's in the woods and she's in the car and she's hearing about an axe murderer on the loose from, on the radio. And she says the line, it's like, will you please come back now? I'll even let you fondle my breast. And I laughed. And that's in like the first 5 minutes. Like, I'm into this movie. I'm into this movie all the way. He didn't come back, by the way.
No, he did not. He got killed.
Well, yeah, but I would have made it back. I guess he kind of did come back, right? Like
he
30 years later?
Yes, many years later.
Zombie X? No, just a guy.
The 50s is where we meet Tom Atkins' character.
Was he the guy who made the diet?
He plays the young police officer, yes.
Okay.
Yes, famously Tom Atkins.
I thought I recognized that name.
The Atkins diet.
Yes, so he's a copper.
Yes.
And he was in love with the girl who wanted her breasts fondled.
Still the 80s, cops are the good guys.
Were they?
Yeah.
Well, I'm trying to remember.
Tom Atkins' character is so fucking cool in this movie because he's got everything you want in a 1980s detective. He's depressed. He's suicidal.
Doesn't he try to kill himself at one point in this movie? What happened with that?
Yeah, he gets distracted by the fact that the creeps are back. He is freewheeling with his flamethrowers and his guns. He's got a one-liner for everything, and it's all the same line. It's everything I ever want out of a 1980s detective character. He's the coolest motherfucker we've seen in all these movies outside of maybe some of the Space Marines in Aliens.
Ooh, that's a bold claim you're taking. I have to say I like the tragic backstory because he was the cop who wanted to get with the girl whose breasts wanted to be fondled.
Yes.
And then she was murdered by the axe murderer.
Yes.
And And spoiler alert, he ends up, you don't find out till later, but you find out that he murders the axe murderer, and they think he just walked away, but he gets his revenge, and he buries it underneath the sorority house.
Sorority house isn't there yet, I don't think.
Well, he buries it because he knows the sorority house is going to come, and he's like, all these pillow fights will keep this guy good and buried.
A guy like Tom Atkins, looking like Tom Atkins with that mustache, walks in. He knows the sorority house is going to come.
I was gonna make an orgasm joke off of your cum word, but I couldn't do it.
Is it because I just made an orgasm joke?
Yeah, but it wasn't very good. I thought I could up it, but I couldn't. So here we are.
So yeah, there are boobs in this movie, and it's the second most random set of boobs I've ever seen from a main character in a movie. Because
what was the first most?
Did you ever see the movie Stepfather with Terry O'Quinn?
Who's Terry O'Quinn? Was he John Locke in Locke?
Yes.
I mean, Lost?
Yep.
Okay.
I got you. So in this movie, the main character is the stepdaughter. And for no reason, with about 5 minutes left in the movie, she just gets in the shower for a second. It has nothing to do with anything.
What year?
Oh, boy. I don't even know. 88 maybe?
All right. That makes sense then.
It has less to do with the plot than anything I've ever seen. Nothing happens to her in the shower. No revelation happens in the shower. She just hops in real quick to show her boobs and then gets out of the shower. It's fascinating in a way that is, I don't even know what to say about it. This movie comes close because for no reason she's got to change her clothes and she just like pops her tits out. And I'm like,
for about 4 seconds, but that's all you need.
It's strange because she's the main character. That's
Agreed.
What makes it strange in both cases is that they're giving this girl, a real three-dimensional character and some authority on her character. And then she's also like, oh, got to get to the nude scene. It's such a weird concept to travel back in time and watch.
Especially because it is the main character, like you say. I'm used to the side characters. And do you think Night of the Creeps did this on purpose? It's in a sorority house. There's lots of scenes where you're like, oh, here it comes. Here it comes. We got to get changed for the big dance. And you know what they don't do? Get changed on camera. So I'm wondering if it was part of a little poke at all of us going, well, we're not going to show you boobs. Then at the end, quick little boobs.
My assumption for both is that they had a note that they had to have some nudity.
I think that was the note that most 80s movies got. Yeah. Like, even if you're a PG kids movies, you got to show some boobs.
So the funniest thing about this movie is I know that it's rated R. And
really?
Yeah, of course it is. There's boobs in it.
Oh, yeah, right.
But it doesn't have the feel for most of the movie. It has that PG-13 feel to it. And 100%. Then it's like also, hey.
Even the gore, if it weren't for the 5 seconds of breast.
It's so weird.
I feel like it's not particularly gory. I mean, there's practical effects, again, are great. Every movie I've seen back here is fantastic as far as practical effects go.
Yeah.
The head splitting open, the worms coming out, even the worms crawling around the ground. The animated corpse of the axe murderer when it comes back out of the grave and goes on a stalking frenzy of... Oh, wait, no, that wasn't him. It was the boyfriend who initially found the slug. He went to the sorority house to go on his date. His date.
At the end of the movie?
Yeah, when he's shuffled, like he gets out early on. Oh, by the way, so the kids have to wake him up
with the great scene where she breaks up with him, not realizing that he's
a zombie of some sort.
Now. Yes, that whole scene is great, but it also leads to the best line in the movie. That's not thrill me, which just overpowers you with its usage. It's when Tom Atkins is just so gleefully looking out the window. And he says to the girls, it's like, good news and bad news, girls. Your dates are here. She's like, what's the bad? He's like, they're dead. And he's smiling and smoking that cigar. And he's the coolest motherfucker.
He really was. And I think the weakest person in this entire movie is whoever our main character is supposed to be.
Yes, he has got nothing to him whatsoever.
No.
And it doesn't do him any favors that at the end of the movie, you end up with, because they're in formal wear, because they're
going to prom or whatever. I don't know what they have in college prom. That's what they call it.
Yeah, sure. They're going to the dance, and they're wearing formal wear. So our female character is in a nice dress, but then she also was just brandishing a flamethrower and killing things, and she looks iconically badass, and he's just standing there still looking like, it's like, man, if there was any chance you had to be like a relevant piece of this movie, it is taken away by the imagery of the last scenes where she's just murdering everybody while looking so cool.
I feel like that's kind of what has to happen, though. You have to have a good final girl for horror films. Like, I don't think it's right. I don't know why this is, because I'm just thinking about it now, but it's natural for there be I know how to speak. It's natural for there to be a female final survivor.
I feel like this movie has the exact right mix. you can have the nothing boyfriend who cares, even though he's the main character. You got the cool chick, and you got Tom Atkins.
Don't forget the Hawaiian shirt guy who's got the funny lines, and he's awesome, and he's doing awesome things. And I don't know his name. I want to say it's Cool Dude McGee. Cool Dude McGee is very, I guess, surprising when he dies, because I did not expect it. I thought that he would win and he would come back and be the hero.
Yeah.
Even more than that final girl. I thought he should be the hero because of his sartorial choices. That is all.
Okay. Did you notice? I know I say this and you immediately say no.
Of course not.
They reuse a line directly in a scene directly from this movie in The Monster Squad.
Ooh. Let me think. Wolfman's got nards.
Yes, that was used really weirdly in this movie.
Because we were talking about a worm.
At one point in the movie, someone says, corpses that have been dead for 27 years do not get up and walk out by themselves. And then it cuts to the shuffling feet of the zombie.
Right.
In Monster Squad, 1,000-year-old mummies don't just get up and walk around by themselves, and it cuts to the mummy shuffling down the street. They just straight up did it twice. This movie does that thing that I think is annoying, but it does it so early, because it's 1986, that I guess it gets a pass, where it names all of its characters after horror directors.
Oh, did it?
There is a Carpenter, a Romero, a Hooper, a Landis, a Cameron, a Cronenberg, a Raimi, a Craven, a Mario Bava, a Steve Miner. There's like
Who's Mario Bava?
Mario Bava is a giallo director from Italy.
Oh, I thought it was a Mario brother.
But they just, like, the whole cast is filled out with names of, they're just thrown around willy-nilly.
Is that something that happens a lot in horror movies, at least older ones, as homages to...
It doesn't happen that often because it's really kind of stupid.
Didn't they do it in Scream? Wasn't somebody?
Oh, they used Carpenter.
There you go.
But I think you're allowed to use a name.
Is Loomis somebody?
We've been over this.
I really don't remember.
Loomis was a character in Psycho. Then it was a character in Halloween. Then it was a character in Scream.
Oh, yeah, Loomis. Loomis from Halloween.
I think that's not annoying at all. It's kind of cool to keep that legacy going. Whereas if you have 12 characters all named after popular directors of the time, that's annoying.
Only if you know anything about horror movies and know who directs them.
I guess that's right.
Who directed this one?
Fred Decker.
Right. And what else did he do?
Nothing.
He
died immediately after filming.
All right, I'm back up to speed. Good for him. So he's allowed to do it, I feel.
So Tom Atkins.
You are in love with Tom Atkins.
I am in love with Tom Atkins.
Telling you, it's Hawaiian shirt guy.
Mustache on or off?
Too bad.
He's from Halloween 3.
I appreciate that. I haven't seen that one.
The movie where it's never Loomis or Myers.
What was it? Every interstitial with him is him back at his apartment drinking. Like that. Like there's all these murders happening. Is this all one night? I don't know. It was like a day or two. It was really close in time.
This was, I think, just a couple nights. Because there's the first night they go and meet David Paymer for some reason at the...
Oh, yeah, David. I was so excited. And you know what's weird? I remember looking at him going, hey, that's David Paymer, like out loud in the theater.
You know what's weird for me? Is that I saw him, I said, wow, he looks exactly the same. And then I realized I just hadn't seen David Paymer since the 80s.
I think he looks exactly the same. I don't know that he's changed.
When's the last time you saw David Paymer in something that wasn't this?
Oh, well.
I could see it.
That is the last time I saw him, and he looked the same.
Tom Atkins comes in and just John Wicks the house.
He had a whole plan and everything.
He has the arc that I wanted for the sheriff and Critters.
Where he gets his redemption, yes. I guess, or his revenge.
Where he spends the whole time just being like, this guy is depressed and wants to suicidal, whereas that guy was just like, leave me alone with everything, I'm not doing my job. But then you got to get up and you got to take care of business, and he goes and he takes care of fucking business. And I wanted that for the character in Critters too, because I feel like it's desperately missing at least another death.
Oh yeah, there were a good amount of deaths, weren't there?
Not in this, in Critters.
Oh, in Critters, yeah, there was a shocking.
Yeah, there's like 2 deaths. And they happen early.
If I recall correctly, one was an innocent boyfriend who really wasn't doing anything wrong, and he just got pulled into the barn and murdered.
It was Billy Zane.
That was Billy Zane. Good old Billy. You better listen to your friend Billy Zane.
Yeah. Now, the brain stored in the basement, is it the most convenient plot device in the history of film?
It's one of my favorites. You know I'm a sucker for...
I agree, because they do it so overtly to be like... We've talked about this before. One of my favorite lines in movie history is in X-Men First Class, where they realize there's no way to make the line, and you should be Magneto, sound cool. So instead, Jennifer Lawrence just points at him, leans all the way in and goes, and you should be Magneto. And it's like they recognize, no way out of this one. Just turn into the slide. And it's one of my favorite moments because
I don't remember that.
It's a perfect acting choice. She won an Oscar for a different movie. She should have won for that delivery because it's so stupid and it's so on purpose and you get to laugh with it instead of at it.
That put her on the radar, you're saying, for the Oscars?
That's why she should have won an Oscar, because I don't think you could deliver that line better. Deliver that line in a way that works. It doesn't work. So she's like, I'm going to do the exact opposite. And I love it. And you get some of that here with the plot device, because they just have someone show up and needs to store their brains.
But wasn't she the smart girl with the glasses?
Oh,
There's always a smart one. Well, it was sad to me because she was one of the first ones to go. Get turned at the sorority house to be turned into a zombie. Well, a brain alien zombie, I guess. I don't know what to call them.
I would call them the Creeps.
The Creeps? I don't like it. I think we can go with something better.
Because it's their night.
Yeah.
One of the sorority girls was the main girl from Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
That is a movie I really want to see. It's
not out yet.
God damn it. It's been sitting there in my head for a while, and I haven't seen it since probably the 90s. That and Shakes the Clown. I was in a clown thing that summer.
That's weird.
Well, look, man, I don't judge what movies you watch.
I think that also the newsroom was called the King Newsroom. So they were doing Stephen King stuff too. They were just all about names.
I like it. You name drop. That's how you show your creds in the horror biz.
Oh, the boyfriend's name was Brad, right?
Sure.
Yeah, he was the 80s bully.
I also love all the 80s bullies.
Yes.
They were great. I liked the whole fraternity rush thing.
And he got leeched by a dog. Yes.
They did. And the smart girl got leeched by a cat, I believe.
And I believe when he gets broken up with by the main girl, she says something without looking at him. She's not making eye contact with him because she's breaking up with him and it's hard. And she just goes, we're two different people, Brent. And he's a zombie. It's great.
I believe I can fly.
I don't know what you're doing.
We said I believe a whole bunch in a row.
I see.
And I realized that's what I believe.
And so, yeah, he buries the axe murderer under the house.
Mustache cop?
Mustache cop.
Yeah, he does.
He buries under the house. And then the house mother is immediately murdered.
Because the axe murderer wakes up as a zombie. By the way, there was a little kid, I don't know if you noticed, who came in at some point in the movie. I don't know what age he was, anywhere from 2 to 10. And there were no parents anywhere. But when that zombie thing came out of the floor, he started laughing and he was so excited. And can I say this, kid? At the ending, when do you want to reveal the fate of Mustache Cop? Because he's your guy.
He goes out like a boss. He sacrifices himself to end the night of the creeps. Doesn't really work.
No, because he wanders away. He comes up after everything's done, and he's full of smoke because he's burned up, but he's also smoking, which is pretty cool. So he's smoking. Where's the smoke coming from? His cigarette or his body? You can't really tell. But then he falls down, and his brain splits open, and then like the worms come crawling out of his brain,
and they head to a cemetery.
Well, the thing was,
the
thing was from Antarctica.
You were talking beforehand. You have to continue afterwards.
I don't have to.
You got Ben Grimmed.
I was very proud. No, the thing is from Antarctica. See, I came up with a new one. It's not just Ben Grimm anymore.
I've never seen it.
I know. You will someday.
I know.
Someday. But I'm still never going to watch that movie with that red butt plug. Whichever it was called. I don't remember anymore.
Everything Everywhere All at Once?
No, the other one. It was all black and white because it was in the 1950s. And then the red butt, it was the only color was that red thing. Kitty loves that movie.
Well,
Schindler's List. That's what it was.
You think the Holocaust happened in the 1950s or that the movie came out in the 1950s?
Was it black and white?
It was black and white.
Well, then we've established that that's in the 1950s.
Nobody's going to understand that reference because it's from a year ago. Over a year ago. That was like our third episode of this podcast.
Well, sadly, I remember that reference, so it's going to stay in my head.
You couldn't remember anything about Billy Zane being in a movie we watched not that long ago.
No, I couldn't remember because he was on the Titanic. That's all I remember him from. What was my point, Brian? You took me on this sidetrack about nonsense like you usually do, and now I can't remember.
The creeps were heading to the cemetery.
The little kid turned to me because I'm like, ooh, I guess that's the end. The kid's like, not if they go to a cemetery. And then they did. That kid was like planning it out. Oh, and then also, as just a great ending to it, the alien spaceship shows up and starts shining a spotlight all over the graveyard, trying to find them.
What am I supposed to take away from this? Am I supposed to take away that they're going to save everybody?
I would like to point out, too, that initially they lost this thing in the 1950s.
Yes.
It's now 30-something years later, and they just showed up with a spotlight. They're not like tracking device. You're like, oh, let's turn on the spotlight.
My assumption is that the evil alien has now taken over the ship.
Oh, well, that one that got away, do you think he was worm-possessed?
No.
You just think he was a bad guy?
Yeah.
So he took over the ship, and now he's trying to find the worms to do whatever weird alien things?
I think he's going to throw more worms down there.
You think so?
No.
I thought it was
kind of killing time.
for 30-something years. I don't know. Now you got me thinking. I feel we should have spent more time with the alien plot of this movie. Because we didn't really.
I like that we didn't. I wish they didn't even come back at the end. I think it'd just be hilarious if the only thing that happened was that's the explanation for why these things are on Earth, and then just never follow up on it again.
I don't know. An alien spaceship with a spotlight. That's pretty solid. Not a tractor beam spotlight, just like a spotlight on the, I assume, the side of their window. They rolled down their space window and turned it on.
I don't know.
I don't either.
I don't know how the alien technology works.
These are the questions. Well, we know it's colorized.
Well, maybe it's black and white now.
I don't think so. That's not how science works, Brian.
Let's just say you've never seen it, but the use of black and white to denote the 1950s is very Twin Peaks: The Return.
Okay.
There is the best episode of that season is episode 8, where David Lynch basically gives you his history of evil in the world. And it's set in the 50s. It's the birth of evil in the Twin Peaks universe. And I've seen some work done on this where the day he picks is basically the day of the last television serial they used to put in theaters. And it was when television took over. So that's kind of his message, maybe, is like, this is when if we let evil into our homes, because he hates television so much, he's making a TV show. It's one of the great things about Twin Peaks. When they go back in time to the 50s, it just feels so different than the rest of the show, and it's just put in black and white, and it's very, very cool. And then this one did it, and I was like, oh, he ripped off Night of the Creeps.
So David Lynch is a ripoff.
David Lynch, the most unoriginal hack of all time.
I always suspected that, because I've tried watching his movies. They don't make any sense, and I knew I'd seen these things before.
I was watching Mulholland Drive the other day, and I thought, this motherfucker kind of ripped off Blue Velvet.
Yeah, he probably did. Which one had Dennis Hopper?
Blue Velvet.
Yeah. I saw one of those when I was working at the theater.
I think that might have come out the same year as Hoosiers, which is hilarious when you think about it.
I've never seen Hoosiers.
Well, Hoosiers, Dennis Hopper plays a drunk who is trying to get his life back on track, who's helping the local basketball team, and his whole arc is like a redemption arc.
I thought that was Mississippi Burning.
And then also, that's Gene Hackman.
Yeah.
And then also, when you get to, then like a month later, Blue Velvet comes out, and he's a fucking freak. And it's pretty great. You get both sides of the Dennis Hopper experience. Next week, we might have another Dennis Hopper experience.
Why?
Because we just watched another fucking movie with Dennis Hopper in it.
That's why he's in my head.
Yes.
Okay. That's right. You know, we really got to try to record these things immediately after watching a movie.
Yeah, we took a little break because I got sick.
Yeah, well, it's those 1980s viruses. You never get sick.
I know. I wasn't prepared for...
Am I going to get chickenpox again? Because I think I had it right here and now in 1980. I feel like this is the year I get chickenpox.
I think I get it next year.
Do I give it to you?
No,
because we're seeing each other right now.
Meet you until 1994.
We're meeting right now, Brian.
Why is things black and white in here?
Are we back?
Am I still sick?
Are we back in 1950? Have we gone too far?
I caught one of those 1980s viruses. I hope it's not AIDS.
Oh, it's all the AIDS. All the ads are telling me that. I'm pretty sure I told you before. Do you remember the time when I was in second grade and I saw a sign about a billboard that was talking about ear AIDS?
I'm going to ask you a question first. How would I remember the time you were in second grade?
Because I might have told you about it. And you're here now.
Then I might remember the story.
But you'll remember the time. Wait, what year is it now? 86? What year was I in second grade? I might be in second grade now. I might be seeing those.
You would be in second grade now.
I might be seeing those ear AIDS billboards and all over the place because AIDS was the big scare at the time.
Yes.
And I saw it, and I saw the billboard on the bus, and I went home, and I'm like, Mom, there's AIDS in your ears. They're going to get you. It turned out to be like hearing aids for people who are going deaf. You remember that?
No.
Well, it happened.
That was in Ohio.
That was in Ohio. Milan, Ohio, the birthplace of Thomas Alva Edison. I once stood
I'm a Tesla man.
I once stood. Boo.
You don't like Tesla?
Oh, Tesla, not Elon Musk Tesla.
Oh no, fuck that motherfucker.
No, ew, gross. Pass.
He's somewhere right now, inheriting a diamond mine and pretending he's not making his money off blood diamonds.
They're all blood diamonds.
That's true.
There was a movie with Leonardo DiCaprio who taught me that.
One time I was sitting at a hockey game. I went to a Sabres game, and the person next to me just described the entire plot of that movie to his friend. And I'd never seen it. I had no interest in seeing it, so I didn't care. But he's like, and then, bro, he dies. He's like, it's shocking. And he's like, the guy's like, well, I guess I don't have to see it now. And I turned to him, I said, I guess I don't either. And he's like, oh, I'm sorry. I was like, I don't care. but it was pretty funny because he was real a big fan of that movie, and he went into very, very big details.
Didn't you, during the movie, or someone was talking about the movie Lone Survivor, and you said, I bet you he survives, and someone got really angry at you for spoiling the movie?
The movie is called Lone Survivor. That did happen, yes.
Okay.
That did happen, yes.
See, I can remember things about your life that happened. Why can't you remember things about my life? Sometimes, Brian, I question your friend abilities.
That's fine. This is the coolest thing about this movie is that it's really like a tribute to the B movies of the 50s. It just has that feel to it.
Throughout the whole... But it has the 80s sensibility layered on top of it.
It has the 80s cheese, yeah, which makes it awesome. But I don't know that I've seen a lot of better versions of this where somebody goes and evokes the sci-fi horror of the pre-Psycho era. Because like in the 50s, that's when Godzilla came out. That's when... did you know there's a movie called Them about giant ants that came out before Godzilla?
I didn't know it came out before, but I've seen Them many a time.
Yeah, and it's cool because it's the same... It's a different take on it, obviously. And, by the way, because it's American and they're doing different stories, the military is able to wipe them out.
Of course.
Just trust your local police officers. They'll look at you, this country.
Cops are the bad guys now in movies, right?
They should be.
Well, we just talked about... It was Jordan Peele, Get Out, because it was the cop. Like, it's so well known that cops are the bad guys uptime, like back in, I guess, current times, that the whole ending of that movie hinges on, the cops have shown up, and it's a black male as our main character.
The craziest thing about that is that, number one, he said before that wasn't the original ending of the movie.
Who said? Jordan Peele?
That he didn't have... It took a while to get to that ending. Originally, he was going to kill him. And his friends were like, I don't want to see that. I've seen that movie too many times. And he's like, oh, well, then he'll just get arrested. And he's like, I don't want to see another black guy going to jail. And he's like, yeah, you're right. And he's like, can I just let him get away? And then
I'm nodding my head, yes.
He came up with the idea. But he's like, just think about that. There's a black writer-director making a movie for black audiences, and he doesn't think I can just do that because it's so ingrained in the film language that doesn't happen. So at the end of that movie, when the airport vehicle pops up, and it's amazing, but you think it's a cop car. It's the perfect moment.
I'm just trying to think now. You've got me wondering when the shift happened, because the cops were absolutely the military cops, absolutely
the
heroes
shift
throughout.
Because of technology, because we can see their crimes now. So something that used to just be like a joke that you had no proof of, but you're like, oh yeah, all cops are crooked. We'd all joke about it. But now you see it every week. You turn to on the internet. Well, we don't see it anymore, but in Uptime, you can go on the internet and see every week.
Well, Training Day. That was late 90s, early 2000s.
I never saw it.
It was... Denzel is solid. Ethan Hawke.
I didn't like him shit-talking King Kong, so I never watched it.
Well, he doesn't... He's wrong in the end. Well, no, they both get gunned down, I guess.
Ethan Hawke dies?
No, not Ethan Hawke. I was talking about King Kong and Denzel Washington.
That's true. They do both get gunned down at the end.
So I guess they're even. He was boastful. That was his problem. He was prideful. He was too prideful. King Kong didn't have any pride. He was way more innocent.
Was Ethan Hawke Prejudice?
Yeah.
Because then I have a new title for the movie, Prejudice and Pride.
Yep. That's exactly what it was. I don't know why they went with Training Day. That was way dumb. They could have brought in a whole new audience with that title. People be like, is this a sequel? I got to go check out this Jane Austen or Jane Eyre or Jane...
If we ever get back Uptime, I need to get your Apple Plus password because I wanted to watch that Denzel Washington Macbeth movie, and it's only on Apple
Washington
Plus.
Macbeth,
and it was directed by one of the Coens, and I want to see it really bad because I bet it's great.
Which one of the cones? The head? That was a Coneheads joke.
I'm in stunned silence. You've stunned me into silence.
Now, the question is it the movie Coneheads or the skits from Saturday Night Live Coneheads?
I want to go home.
Look, pal, there's no way we're going home. In fact, all right, I'm excited because I have the credit check. Okay. We didn't do the credit check yet. Mm-hmm. And this was a pretty solid credit check. I think you're going to be. Well, first off, there was no Best Boy. This seems to be a trend here in the 80s. There are no Best Boys. There are Best Boy Electrics and Best Boy Grips, but a solid one and only job Best Boy does not exist. But what we do have here, there's a couple of good things. First off, Brian, I know you're going to be excited about this one. There is something called completion services. That's all I have. Sounds very intriguing. And I don't know, but this sounds like a fun set to have worked on. Now, when did John Carpenter start making his movies?
Assault on Precinct 13 was like 75, 76.
And this one, so something happened to John Carpenter because he was a driver on the set of this movie. Wow. He wasn't, not even like the coordinator or the captain driver. He was just a driver, just one of the guys who drove people around. So I don't know which movie he did that tanked so badly.
Well, I do. It was 86. Yeah. Big Trouble in Little China.
That movie's awesome.
It didn't do well.
What is wrong with people? That's another one very much like this movie then.
Can you believe we didn't cover it?
You didn't even tell me it came out.
I know.
I've got to get away from that mall, I guess, and go outside more. I've been to the grocery store. I've been to the mall. These are my places. All right. But yeah, so he was there. So anyway, also, I assume this is only because, and I've never seen this before, and I assume it's because of the completion services that were offered, but there was set security. And the set security was two people named Rocky Sage Beal and Chino Fats Williams. Ooh, these are, I think they need shout outs because they must have had a lot of work.
Do you remember when I was in North Carolina uptime before we left?
Yep.
And I sent you a photo?
Sure. 100%.
And the photo was for a sign outside of...
I saw the sign.
A pavilion of some kind. And I never went in. I wish I had. And it was called Cum Park Plaza.
Don't lie to me. You know you went in there. You went in there for your completion services.
I just wonder if that's where the completion services person ended up.
To the Cum Park Plaza? Yeah. That's pretty...
You're driving down the road, and it's spelled C-U-M. It's Cum Park Plaza. Well, lines around the block.
I can imagine. It's like a Chick-fil-A when one opened in Buffalo. Yeah. I assume they had complete... Yeah, they did. There were lines around the block.
Wow.
I assume they were offering the completion services. That's where you get lines.
I thought they were just offering portable, delicious chicken.
Who?
We'll take a sponsorship.
They're Jesus people.
Oh,
I don't want their sponsor. I think they actually got kicked out of the Buffalo airport. They were going to open up a place there, and people were like, we don't like your God here. And then it didn't open.
I like Jesus. I like the stuff he has to say. Don't like the Jesus people. It seems like they didn't understand a word of it.
I feel like you knew somebody named Jesus.
Oh,
Is this who we're talking about?
Oh, yeah. No, then I like Jesus fine.
Yeah, he seemed pretty cool.
He had the original Stop Making Sense record. We listened to it on record down in his basement when we drank weird beers and liquor that he had.
Now I'm confused as to which Jesus you went into the basement with and did these things.
Yeah.
I just have a picture of you in the basement with a big bearded Jesus saying, I like your stuff, man, but not your followers.
The funniest thing was that we called him that because he had long hair and a beard and he was kind of a hippie, and he just looked like that. And then he cut that hair, I think, within 4 months of meeting him, and then we knew him for 20 more years, and we just kept calling him Jesus anyway.
I know somebody named Tex.
Never looked like that. Yeah, and he hasn't been in Texas the entire time I've known him.
I was in Texas with him one time.
Oh, my God. What did they call him there?
I don't know. No one referred to him by name. They wouldn't make eye contact either. I don't know what he did when he was down there. But yeah, I guess they called him whatever his human name was. What is his name?
Tex, as far as I know.
Yeah, he had something else. I've heard other people say it before, and I get really confused. That was my credit check for you. I think that was a pretty solid one. I haven't been this excited about a credit check in a while.
It's a weird thing to be excited about.
Most of the times, Brian, it's usually the best part of the movie.
No, these have all been good movies.
Well, most of the time.
Yeah.
But back in like modern days, movies aren't as good as they are back here in 1986.
Are 86 movies the best year of movies?
It's the only year I remember movies coming out, so I think it's got to be.
It feels like they're making the right mix of things for people our age.
40?
And by that, I mean 45-year-olds in 1986.
40-year-olds?
Yes. People who grew up. They're making movies specifically for people who grew up in the 80s and 90s and then time traveled back to the 80s.
Well, they're doing a fantastic... I don't know who's in charge of this, but I really like it.
Aliens. Night of the Creeps. April Fool's Day. Critters.
April Fool's Day. I like that one.
Maximum Overdrive.
Maximum Overdrive.
Killbots.
Good old Killbots.
Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Oh, yeah.
Jason Lives. Big Trouble in Little China. They're crushing it in 86.
It is. It is a good time to be alive and drinking Orange Julius's, Brian.
I've never had an Orange Julius in my life.
If I hadn't spilled it all over myself, I would get here. There's some on the floor. You can lick it up.
That's not the floor. I'm not falling for that trick twice.
God damn it. I need completion services. Where do you go back here in 1986? My wife is a child. That's doing me no good. And in fact, it's gotten me in a bit of trouble, if we're being candid. So, oh, Candid Camera's on.
Right now, is it on us right now?
Probably. Hello?
What a boring episode that's going to be.
Who's that guy? Dick Clark, Ark Linkletter? Who's the guy who hosts it? The Smothers Brothers?
Who hosts?
Candid Camera. Elephant.
I think that's Alan Funt.
There we go.
It is Alan Funt. That is a name I never thought I'd bring back into the lexicon.
Well, it's happening now, Brian.
Well, I mentioned that I think her name is Debbie in Killer Clowns from Outer Space is in this movie.
Who is she?
She's one of the sorority girls.
Oh,
She's
okay.
not the main one.
Not the smart one either?
She could have been. I don't know. Do you think that... I just don't know how you determine who's smart or not.
Glasses are a dead giveaway.
If they're so smart, why aren't they wearing contact lenses?
Because I don't know. I don't think contacts were around back
If they're
then.
so smart, why didn't they invent them?
That is a good question,
That's
Brian.
right.
All right. I'm going to ponder that one for a minute.
Do you think that we can get home by entering a circus carnival tent that is really a spaceship? This is admittedly one of the more difficult ones to pull off.
So the carnival tent is a spaceship?
Admittedly, this is a long shot. But if all carnival tents are really spaceships, then maybe we can use one to time travel.
I think that...
Because as we know from this movie, it takes 30 years to go around the Earth once, I guess.
Yeah, that checks out.
That checks out.
I think she didn't invent contacts because she had all those brains in the basement that she was
the part
doing
you
work
got
on.
stuck on. Oh.
That is what I'm thinking. Now, I can't... In this particular movie, that's the reason. She wasn't worried about, like, eye stuff. She was worried about brain things. That was her whole deal. So that's why she didn't. But other movies, you're right. I'll have to figure out why they don't invent glasses or contact lenses for themselves.
If Velma was so fucking smart, she should have at least, put a rope around that thing.
No, then it makes you look like a loser.
Yeah, she looks so
What are you
cool.
talking? Really? Which one are you picking, Velma or Daphne? Or Shaggy? Shaggy's cool, bro.
I was going to say, is Scooby off the table?
Scooby's never off the table. In fact, you can usually find him on the table because that's where the food is.
He sent you in, so he can...
Consent?
He can consent.
That's true.
You want a Scooby snack? He's not falling for that peanut butter trick twice.
I heard something. Somewhere in my brain there was...
You know what's funny is that nobody brought up Fred Jones.
No, but he's got that ascot.
Yes.
That ascot's slamming.
You heard somebody what?
Somebody once told me the world was going to roll me. No, shit, what was I talking about? Scooby-Doo.
Mm-hmm. We were talking about having sex with an animated dog.
Yeah. But no, you wouldn't pick Velma over Daphne? Is that what I was saying?
Yeah, I would definitely pick Daphne over Velma.
Fuck no. Velma's where it's at. You know she's a freak. With that big brain of hers.
Oh, yeah, you got that thing.
I've got that Ben Grimm. I've got a rock-hard Ben Grimm.
I got a Ben Grimm for you.
I got some meat. And that's what I say. Right before we get busy, I go, it's clobbering time. And then I unzip my pants. Yeah.
I can't stop picturing you shit-talking a vagina by saying it's clobbering time. And I don't like it, and I don't like any of this.
And I say something about Yancey Street sometimes, because that's where he's from.
Those are all the things we know. And that Alicia Masters is a girlfriend.
Yep. And she's blind.
Shit. All right, so Night of the Creeps, 2 thumbs up. Another good one.
I'm going to go ahead and give it 3 thumbs up.
Yeah, put your other thumb away.
It's clobbering time.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I think that's all I got about this movie, Brian.
Yeah, as one of our great poets once said, it's not the sharpest tool in the shed, but it gets the job done.
It's great. It's a fine movie. It's not a fine movie. It's fun.
It's a fun Sunday afternoon watch. I think this is like 2 o'clock on a Sunday. You finished mowing the lawn. You're like sitting down. There's no football on. You just want to watch something. This is like a perfect movie to watch in the middle of a nice Sunday afternoon when you're a little tired.
I would say this was my favorite movie we've watched here in the 80s. But
I knew you were going to like it. I didn't think you'd like it that much.
I keep confusing it with Night of the Comet. It's not fair that these movies, and also Night of the Living Dead, and also Night of the Leapers.
Lepus.
Is it Lepus?
Yeah.
In my head, it's Leapers because they're rabbits and they hop. So they're leaping.
That makes 1,000 times more sense to me than Night of the Lepus.
Well, we're going to go with my idea.
I am too. It makes so much more sense.
And see, I like the idea because Night of the Leaper sounds like it could be something scary, and then it's just a rabbit.
I know, and Lepus, you got to get out a dictionary and look up what a Lepus is.
Yeah, it's too much work. Leapers it is. Now, what was I saying?
I can't believe it's not Night of the Leapers.
Every movie that I've seen so far in 1986 is my favorite movie. We just keep one-upping each other.
I feel like that streak's going to end next week for you, but that's all right.
Okay. What was I going to say? Oh, I can't believe.
Is that butter?
I can't. I really can't. Remember when Fabio got hit in the head by a goose? Or a duck of some kind while he was on a roller coaster?
No.
It happened because he was the I can't believe it's not butter guy. And one day he rolled a roller coaster and he got hit in the face. And
I think I do remember that.
By a duck. And I was like, oh no, my face, my beautiful face. Because he used to be a romance cover guy.
Yes.
That was his whole thing. That made me remember more celebrity news.
Oh no.
Oh yes.
Let's see. Who could it be about?
It's not Fabio. It's not Dolph Lundgren.
I can't believe it's not Fabio.
Well, get your head around this. It's somebody equally muscular, somebody equally good looking, somebody equally skilled in the combat arts.
Donatello.
No, but that would be cool. He's around right now. I'm not in my head because I don't think you believe me, but he's there with his bros, the 4 of them, turtling it up. But anyway, who I'm talking about is obviously Nick Cage. And it's his combat martial arts in particular that I want to talk about today, Brian, because this is the news that just popped. Because I've been paying attention with private detectives and such. Nicolas Cage, it must have been his first, he was at like a bar or something with his first wife. I assume it's his first because we're back here in 1986. And he was with his kid too. Or maybe she was pregnant. I don't remember. I just read it, but I don't remember. Anyway, he goes outside with his wife and somebody starts some trouble and he tries to defend her and he ends up killing the guy because his hands are trained weapons, like lethal weapons from his Nicolas Cage stuff. And then he has to go to jail for a while. And then he has to get on a plane and he's got like a rabbit that he's going to take his daughter. I guess his kid was alive when he was at the bar with his wife, but now he's got this bunny and he's going to take it home to her. But guess what?
Somebody takes the bunny out of the basket.
You've seen this news too?
I've seen this news before. Put the bunny back in the basket.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I'm glad he made it out okay because I can't believe that happened and I've never heard this story before.
Let me ask you a question. What the fuck is wrong with you?
I don't know what you're talking about, Brian. I'm bringing you all the Cage news all the time. I've got a 24-hour hotline direct to Nick Cage's brain. Yeah.
I don't know what's more worrisome. That you think Nick Cage News is recapping the plot of 1997's Con Air, or that you only get 20 minutes into it when you do so.
What are you talking about? I don't remember. There's no movie called Con Air.
Yeah, it's about a hairdryer.
I was about to say, that's a hairdryer.
Did you see his hair in that movie?
It wasn't a movie, first off. Have you seen Nicolas Cage's hair every day? I wish I could. I'm going to get a little lock of it and put it in a plastic bag for me. I should have asked him that when we gave him that movie role.
Next week,
we
are going to talk about a movie we've already seen. So keep your spoilers to yourself.
Good luck. Good luck keeping the spoilers to myself. That's what I say to you.
We're going to watch Dennis Hopper.
I already saw it.
In the
Easy
Texas
Rider.
Chainsaw Massacre 2.
Numero dos.
Numero dos.
Now
the return of Toby Hooper.
Now, keep in mind, the first one is a hot mess.
First one's a masterpiece that
Of a
changed
hot
cinema
mess.
forever.
It's an example of what not to do. Correct. I agree. So part 2 is an interesting attempt. And I've got opinions, Brian.
Oh, I can't wait to hear them. But we will have to wait to hear them.
Okay.
Until one more week.
So right now, I saw that movie. Is it next week? I can't tell time.
Well, we saw it already, but the episode's gonna come out next week. So if you really enjoyed Pete's hot takes on the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I, for one, cannot wait to hear what he has to say about the oddity that is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2.
Oh, boy.
So, anything else you want to say about Night of the Creeps? Oh, you brought up Night of the Comet. I love Night of the Comet.
I haven't seen it since back in the day.
I haven't seen it in a while either. And
What year does that come out?
84. So we
it's
should
out.
maybe go to the video store and get it, I guess.
They don't have a video store at the mall, Brian. I haven't watched any movies that have come out. I'm pretty sure Karate Kid's out somewhere right now, too.
Also 84.
That was the very first movie I ever saw on VHS.
Would have been a okay year to
Do you
time
remember
travel,
that?
too, also. I remember the first movie I saw on VHS was...
Yeah, do you remember? My parents brought home like the VHS thing, the VCR, I think it was called, and they put it on our TV in the living room. And I remember that was what they watched, but it was close to bedtime, so I had to go to bed. But I was watching that beach scene. Look at this guy do karate.
My parents bet on Betamax, and they got divorced a few years later.
That'll happen.
I think it's a 1-to-1.
Yeah, it's a cause and effect thing.
I mean, my mom always says it was me, but I think it was probably the Betamax.
Yeah, that had to be it.
Those things were expensive back in the day,
Yeah, they were.
and the
Better.
Betamax was better quality.
That's
But they got Edisoned out of the business like Tesla did.
Milan, Ohio. They had a melon festival. I ate melon ice cream there. I think they had melon soap, and they had melon dish detergent, and they had melon balls.
And they had Melanie Griffith.
They had melon shafts, and
Oh,
they had
no.
melancholy.
And the Infinite Sadness.
Yep, the end.
Tom Atkins' character had the Infinite Sadness in this movie.
Yeah, he did.
He was my favorite character we've maybe met so far.
I think he might be your favorite character you have in all of cinema. I don't know that I've ever heard you talk about a character as much as you're talking about Detective Mustache.
He's like the yin to my Loomis yang. Where Loomis went and embraced full psychosis.
Halloween Loomis.
Halloween
Dr.
Loomis.
Loomis.
And Tom Atkins, whose name I don't know in this movie.
Mustache.
He's just Tom Atkins.
Detective Mustache.
And Tom Atkins just embraces the horror of the world and just internalizes it. And I just enjoy both portrayals so much. I wish there was a crossover. Loomis is in Halloween 1, 2, 4, 5, and 6. And Atkins is in 3. It's the closest I can get.
Oh. Well, at least they share a franchise, right?
They do.
Is there a Night of the Creeps too?
No, but there is I believe there is like an Italian movie or a French movie or some other country's movie where they tried to bill it a movie as such.
As a part 2 without any kind of...
Correct.
Okay.
I believe that's true. But I've never seen it because why would I?
I'm going to make a Godfather 2.
I got some news for you.
Yeah?
I cannot wait to see it.
Part 1 was so good. We see what I figure is I'm just going to tell the same story again.
Oh, that's a good idea. You know what? You're probably going to need 2 parts for that, though.
Think
probably
so?
going to make a part 3 also, where you just tell the same part again.
That sounds promising.
Like people liked The Godfather. So what you should do is take the rise like Michael has and put it in flashbacks in part 2. But then also in part 3, show Michael as an old man like Brando was and just tell the same story 2 more times.
Are you looking at my notes? These are my notes. These are my scripts. I've been writing these. Let's scratch that one out.
All right, we'll see you next week for Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. I like that we just got, for no reason, to shitting on The Godfather 2 and 3 again.
Well, I'm going to write them. I don't know what you're talking about. You're casting dispersion on my works before I even work them?
You know that we're the only people in the entire world who have this opinion of Godfather 2. That is redundant.
You want to know a secret, Brian?
Do I want to know a secret? I feel like I've been tricked by this too many times. I would like to know the secret.
Well, no, I thought of a different secret. And it was the first time I ever ejaculated when I was masturbating. It was at night and it was dark and I thought I was bleeding to death and I was afraid to tell anybody.
I can't believe I have to say this, but you told this story like 1 episode ago. You've literally picked something that is not a secret that should be a secret. That is no longer a secret.
Well, that was the only secret I have, Brian. I'm a pretty upfront and honest person.
All right. I'm going to go to the Melanie Griffith Festival in
Milan, Ohio?
Milan, Ohio.
Milan, Ohio.
The home of Thomas Edison.
Actually, that might have been Norwalk.
I can't believe you'd lie to me. All right. See you next week.